Hello, everybody. Welcome to Terra Talks, a dev stream. Yes, as we develop Terra Magia, a indie tabletop game by well, yours truly. As we are here doing the thing I just said we're doing, uh, and today we're going to break down into the stats and skills. First, let's introduce ourselves. I am Roulette Hanok Science. I think you can call me Ali or Lycus D Stratus everywhere else on the internet, including here as I play Lycus D Stratus in a different game. So, stick around on Saturdays to watch me be a handsome rogue pirate, werewolf, demon thing. There's a lot going on with Lycus. Uh,
You don't even know.
truthfully, I do not know my own character's bullshit. It's fun. One day I'll learn. Uh, all right, and my handsome assistant here. Introduce yourself. I was talking to Hannah.
I can hear her laughing from downstairs. Hey guys, I'm David. And I am a gamer. I play a lot of TTRPGs. I play a lot of Pathfinder Second Edition primarily. And you can catch me as one of Ollie's players in his Terra Magia actual play. Last character I played was Jin, electric cowboy with a shield, blocks first and asks questions later. Yeah, I'm up to all sorts of stuff. When I'm not here, occasionally I show my face over at Tales Archive, so be sure to check out Tales Archive.
So, like I said, today we're breaking into the stats and skills. So I don't anticipate this being an incredibly long chat, but I am, as I mentioned off screen, ready to honestly change up anything on the skills, especially any of it really. But the skills are probably the parts that I'm a little more wiggly on. So let's start with the stats because that's more concrete to me. So I broke down the stats into two sections: physical and mental. With your physical stats being power, swiftness, and endurance. Power being all of your characters, athletic ability, how physically strong they are, how much they can lift, throw, and carry. Swiftness is how quick your boy is. Are they coordinated? Are they fast? Do they have great reflexes? Anything regarding agility and rogue shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then endurance was the third physical stat, which is less of an obvious one compared to like swiftness and power, and endurance was meant to be more just survivability, just all around survivability, how resistant they are to negative effects, how sturdy they are physically, how unable to be knocked down or moved around they are, and it also plays a factor into how much extra buffer there is between your health points and yourself and death and all that. It actually also plays a part in death saves that we'll talk about later on. So the way I essentially for physical stats, I broke it down into two very active stats and one more reactive stat.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I like it.
So, David, there is one thing I was wondering. I wanted to have your input on when I, was going through all this again.
Mm-hmm.
I I have a thing with numbers sometimes where I just like to see certain numbers.
Sure.
So,
okay.
There is no reason that this was broken up into threes, except that I really just wanted it to be.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay.
And ultimately, I think I've worked it into the system pretty well.
Yeah.
But if any of those were going to be less, something that would be maybe a sticking point, it would have to be endurance, right?
I was about to agree. Yes. Pretty much. Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you feel about it because you've played a character that is explicitly an endurance focused character.
True. Well, there's certain things about the endurance thing that I like. I don't want to jump the gun too much here, but for me, where I found endurance was super helpful was one, I ended up with a very large HP pool compared to the rest of my party, and as a tank, that helped a ton, right? The other thing though, when I look at the stat sheet, endurance is the one that only has currently like two um, skills associated with it. I know it
Yes.
also plays into HP and it plays into death saves, which are not some things that you're going to immediately see on your character sheet. Um, but I do agree with you. You know, in terms of what does it accomplish, I think in like when I think of if I'm making a character concept, what does endurance actually look like? And
Mhm.
how does it like you can look at the physical build of let's say a character and be like, okay, well that person's obviously very fast, right? Swift, right? And then you can look at a character and say, oh, that character is obviously very powerful. What would an endurable character look like?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's of the physical stats, it's the most abstract of them all.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I did really want there to be some representation of like survivability beyond just having a bigger HP pool.
sure.
And I couldn't really think of another way to go about it other than
Well, you did.
endurance.
I think you accomplished it with the. I mean, well, endurance plays directly into VP, right? But
Mhm.
you know, that's where I think it does land. And I mean, the we'll get to it soon here, right? But combat skills are also a thing, right? So, and those are separately tracked, right? Like those don't fall neatly into your power, swiftness, and
Mhm.
at least at the moment, endurance. But I
Exactly.
agree with you about like when you think about liking a certain numbers or something, like the look of the stat array, having a uh a six qualifiers or like six stats is kind of the tends to be the standard, right?
Mhm.
Endurance, if you were to compare it to something like D&D or Pathfinder, it would be your constitution, right?
Right. Which
Yeah.
again isn't really like something
Yes.
that has a direct like visual aspect to it. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of like if you wanted to like design a character concept, telling your telling your artist, well, he's got a high constitution.
mm, got it. I'm envisioning a butcher.
Yeah. Right? It's like, what does that mean? Whereas you said like, oh well, the character I have in mind is very swift, right? Immediately you're thinking like, okay, somebody's kind of streamlined, lithe gymnast or something like that, right? Oh no, did you freeze? No, you're unfrozen now. Okay,
Right.
but yeah, yeah. I mean, my two cents is as someone who played a high endurance character, um, certainly it was nice, but I'm not like totally married to it. You know,
Right.
I'd be down to explore other avenues because I
Right.
think poise can even end up. Poise is the thing I used a lot, and then stamina. Poise and stamina. You could probably find ways to put those into something too,
Mhm.
right? If you really wanted to.
Yeah. I I'm gonna make a note on it. We can come back to it, some other day and
Yeah,
or whatever. But endurance definitely feels, if anything, more. It doesn't feel bad, but it definitely feels more sticky than anything
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Because I'm looking at like stamina, for example, right? Like, could you potentially include just use athletics in place of stamina checks, right?
Yeah,
In terms of skills, right? And then poise, could you just use gymnastics instead of poise checks,
exactly.
right? there's a certain amount of like, oh well,
Mhm.
or even
Uh,
vice versa too, right?
yeah. So now let's talk about the mental stats real quick. These ones I felt made more sense. Even just breaking up into three pieces, I feel like it really honestly encompasses a wide enough breadth of mental capacity. Logic being the total sum of like academic and technical knowledge that a character has, their ability to really like, open up a textbook, understand it, and then apply that new knowledge to whatever they're doing. Intuition is almost the opposite of that. It is instinct. It is, their natural flow. Artistic characters are more intuitive. They paint and they do whatever. It is how aware of your surroundings you are because you just kind of feel, you vibe. Uh, and then influence is, the energy
The
that you
Riz,
exude. Yeah.
Riz and
Uh,
aura for our younger viewers.
exactly. It is the riz and the aura. Um, and the idea there just being the three aspects of mentality being how you learn, how you just how you experience things, and how you alter other people's thoughts and experiences.
Sure,
Um,
sure. You
if
can
any
kind
of
of
those, yeah, if any of those were a bit sticky, it would most likely be influence of the three, but I don't think it has as much of an issue as like endurance.
it doesn't. Yeah, because I mean, essentially, yeah, like you can ultimately have the the Riz be a source of power. I mean, like again, with a background in some of the classic D20 systems, like your influence character would be like your bards, right?
Mhm.
And that's another thing too. I mean, when you look at these, if you were going to try to slot in general analogs, right, of kind of classic character archetypes, influence I do see being is still a fairly valid one, but endurance not so much. Not to kind of keep harping back on poor endurance, but yeah.
No, it's fair. It makes sense. Like I'm still down to change any of this.
Mhm.
Endurance would probably be the one I would change if anything. I just don't know what to because I do feel like I want there to be a third stat for your physicality, uh, but I don't know what. And I don't have to have a third one.
It
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 looks
looks
better.
better. It looks better, and it provides like a certain balance to the game, where it's the other thing too of, let's say you wanted to build your character that was you know kind of strong but really smart. Well, then you would want to like say, okay, well, I'm gonna bump up 3 mental stats and maybe drop one and put have a physical stat that's pretty good, right?
Mhm. I see some notes from our editor. Uh, Hannah's posting some alternative ideas for the stat names, I think. Logic is brain, intuition is gut, influence is heart, power is muscle, swiftness is
I
reflexes, and endurance
I
is
think
stamina.
if we're changing names, influence has got to become Riz.
Influence has to become Riz. I I feel like that's too with the time. I don't know.
That's how we're gonna keep the game
uh,
modern. It's in the language.
it's in the language fair. Uh, I don't know.
Okay.
I have to feel good saying it, I think, and I don't feel like I'd be great saying Riz.
Hey, Jeffrey, what's your Riz score?
Ooh. That
Oh,
being
that's
said,
unfortunate.
uh, it really is. While not actually, name suggestions, though they are
Mhm.
pretty accurate depictions of like what the one word summations of what the stat
Yeah,
is. So
agreed.
that's solid.
Agreed.
Um,
Yeah, and I don't think, when it comes to mental stat, yeah, you'd probably want to keep it all in the same. I mean, you could. So here's the thing, right? Could you have someone whose influence lies in the physical realm? Because you could even have 222, where you have physical stats, mental stats, and then hybrid stats.
right.
or just again kind of spitballing. So rather than you'd kind of have a functionally fairly similar situation, but then those hybrid things, those hybrid elements, can maybe
Yeah.
offer a little bit more information in terms of flavoring and stuff. Because I can imagine something with like high influence, like let's say it's a you know Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? The dude doesn't even have to talk, right? Back in the day, he'd just get by on the physical riz. So his influence stemmed from his physical stats.
Hmm.
Now that might be
Hmm.
kind of a niche example, and maybe I'm just like pulling out something that makes my argument pretty obvious, but that's I'm just thinking, you know,
No, 100%. I could see that. Um, the way I currently would play that, which, as most things in this game end up turning to, is archetypes and perks,
true.
where someone whose power is extremely high would be just like huge muscle man is intimidating just based on whatever they can roll intimidation or negotiation with their power by flexing big enough,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Um,
The nice thing too about that kind of stuff, right, is that allows for a party where everybody can kind of be involved in a scenario, right? You
Mhm.
don't want to have a situation, oh, and well, let's. I think there's a lot of debate on this actually. If you are of the school of thought where you want a party that is well rounded, where you are going to be kind of dividing the tasks, then having more specialist stat arrays makes sense, or more specialized classes or something. If you are more of the school of thought where you want to be able to substitute or have your character always be approaching something with their like best foot forward, like their top skill, it does mean that like having, for example, a let's say like a let's say a Jin who is a very physically imposing individual had to resolve a diplomatic solution, then yeah, using my power there, while it is helpful to me as Jin's player, right, and it makes me feel like, okay, I can still be useful here, that's all well and good. At the same time, I'm devaluing my party member who might have built around being that high charisma, high influence individual, right?
Mhm.
So there is also a little bit of which side do you fall on? Is it better for every character to be equal, or is it better to have characters that are specialists? I tend to go towards more the specialist route, but it's you know that's basically what I'm saying, and what I want to approach with caution with, like, oh, if we just kind of spread something like influence out to every stat, then you know
Right. Like each thing has a way to do influence. Like intimidation would be switched over to one of the physical ones. Uh, a negotiation would be something along closer to like intuition, because you have to understand the person. Some of the other skills would also be dispersed. Uh, no, I could definitely see how that would work. Uh, I
yeah.
think as a on a personal level, I prefer the differentiation. I prefer that, you know, my character is not really meant to be this thing. Like in Sansi, uh, Lycus negotiates, but he's not really that good of a liar, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
That's all Pim, and he's just not really gonna tread on that. Like he'll lie, but then he's
Mhm.
mostly gonna look to hand and be like, "Please roll for me," you know,
Yeah. Like,
make your
yeah,
own
can
lie,
you
and
bail me out here? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I agree with you. I like that too, because one of my most important things is it depends very much on the kind of game you're playing. Um, but if you're playing a game where you have a party, right? You want to be able to differentiate roles because the characters need to rely on each other somehow, right?
yeah. But I do also obviously see the other perspective. Like I'm thinking to like Arden. Uh, they made a character, and again, the last game we played was very combat focused because it was kind of just a run
Yeah.
through a dungeon. Really,
Mhm.
next one's not going to be that way. Next one we're going to have like actual people and like socialization. But
Mhm.
but
We're not going to be shoving corpses through mail slots.
one of the best moments, hands down. But no, um, but her character was built for like almost a very specific type of battlefield, and even beyond that, they were a little more balanced in the terms of like being able to do that, but also being able to uh, actually use logic in a situation. And unlike some some of your character, uh, but it made them able to do a lot of little things, but they were never the best at anything. And I think they struggled with that partially because they also had an incredible bad luck of rolls for a while there.
There's only so much. Yeah, when the dice are just against you, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like they like I remember talking to them, and we resolved some things by changing up some of their perks later on.
Mhm.
Now that after they understood the system a little more, but they definitely talked to me about how it felt, kind of bummer that they were never as good at anything as anyone else. They were okay at everything, but never good as someone
Yeah,
else was.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And it's tough when you are playing a character that maybe doesn't quite fit with the scenario. Like, yeah, if you are a high mental stat character, or like let's say like a character built for social encounters, but you're in a dungeon all the time and it's kind of combat heavy, then yeah, it's tough to play that. You're gonna feel like you're not really doing much. You're not contributing, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah. But at
Eh,
the same time, sorry.
no,
Um,
I was just gonna ask, like, I don't really know how to like deal with that too much, even as like a developer or as a GM, with specifically with the aspect of like of uh of balancing it so that everyone has a hand in. It
mhm,
feels kind of difficult because like even in other games like in Pathfinder, like Lycus is good at a little bit of everything, but he's by far the least good at everything. Like
mhm. Yeah,
he's as good at negotiating as Pim, but that's basically his best thing. He's not as
yeah.
good as his fighter as Ednor. He's not as
You're not putting up Luna's damage numbers.
ever. He's got
Yeah,
survivability, but again, Edinor so does that. Like he's good at
there's
everything,
a-
but he's not as good as everyone else at that
yeah,
particular thing. He's an actual all rounder, which was my intention.
yeah,
Uh, but it also makes it seem I feel that sometimes when I'm playing, where I'm like, I shouldn't be the one to do this. Realistically, it should be
yeah,
this other character doing this thing.
yeah. It's you end up in when you play that kind of character, you end up in these two scenarios a lot where yes, you either end up in the oh, I shouldn't be the one doing this, or the
Mhm.
second scenario is what can I actually do here?
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. I've read that a few times too, where I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't know, and then I usually end up
Yeah.
doing something stupid, which is fine.
Yeah. And I think, the answer to this is unfortunately a lot of game experience is build dependent where, if you're going and especially with new players and in a new system, you got to know you just got to be prepared for that and be able to kind of course correct or do better
Mhm.
next time. Otherwise, the other thing that I found, and
That's
I
fair.
think it's the thing that you do well with Lycus, and I'll tell you because I recently came off of playing a character that was a non-combative character, right? And I mean had a weapon but never drew it. I think I made it through an entire campaign without drawing my weapon. Um, but I still had fun with it because that was the character's shtick. So when you are put in that scenario of being a fish out of water, and your stats aren't built for that scenario, you could just try to have fun with it where you just lean into that. Where you're like, I'm gonna suck at this and I'm gonna try to have fun sucking at this. And sure, you run the risk of essentially becoming like comic relief, but fuck it, man. I mean, the games are the point is to be out here having fun, right? If you're not having fun, what are you doing?
Right. I guess one I agree with you completely, and I think I do lead into that with Lycus myself, where I'm just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I know I'm not gonna be the best at this. I do not care. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
it,
I
honestly.
want to
I'm
see
gonna
the
do it with a stat
consequences.
that's not great.
Exactly. Like, fuck it. Let's see what happens, right?
Hmm.
And it's
Uh,
just being willing to embrace that kind of like that chaos, you know.
mhm.
But players tend to come in a lot of times, especially when shit hits the fan and it's like tense moments. I mean, we're gamers. We all fall into that like win mentality, right? Where it's we have an outcome in mind, and if our stats and our abilities are not geared towards that outcome, we almost feel defeated before we even try.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if there is really a mechanical way to alleviate that, because I think in terms of games that I've played that are like mechanically sound, Pathfinder has to be one of the most like mechanically like neutral, where it's like
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, it feels fair.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like I mean, the thing is the thing that Pathfinder hits is it hits that like it's somewhat underpowered and therefore fair.
exactly. Uh, and if so, even in that system where everything is fair, it still feels kind of like sometimes. And I don't know
Mhm.
if there's really a way to like to like change that, to fix that too much, because with especially with Terra, which is not built that way. It is not meant to be like uh small, you know, like it's
Yeah.
not meant to be small abilities. Pretty much everything's supposed to be kind of like, oh, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
uh which is just a different, direction.
Yeah.
And with the way that I have it set up, it is kind of meant to be slightly min max, like
Mhm.
whether you do half of your stats and half good, half bad. That's the usual skew that I go when I make my own characters in this, or like you and Nigel, who went all in on one or two. Like min maxing gives you a real boost in a specific situation.
Dude, I think my next character I'm just gonna have to dip into one.
It's just one. All right.
I'm gonna be one thing, take zeros in everything, and just be pure endurance.
Okay. I guess that's another question. It's, maybe part of character building later on. But should there be a minimum requirement for stats? Should there be at least a one in everything, or because like that's
Mm,
crazy, right?
I mean,
Because like,
I don't think so. I think so. I do think like mandatory settings. Or here's the shitty way you can have your cake and eat it too. You could put an optional rule set. I'm always a big fan of optional rule sets. If you want to do something where it's like your characters are maybe slightly more powerful than your regular average run of the mill campaign characters, you can totally do a setting where each character starts off with 2 in each stat or something.
mhm,
Just to have a more high powered campaign. But I think I personally love the systems where there's no mandatory settings and the player has full access or full freedom to be as good or as bad as they want in something.
yeah.
Personally,
And
that's
I honestly I have to agree with you too, because like even in the design ethos of Terra Head, that was always kind of the intent. It's just
mhm.
sometimes I kind of lose the uh not the plot, but just like I
Mm.
look at it and I'm like, this is what I want, and then I look back and like, is it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like because you're also thinking about you've got to be constantly thinking about the experience of the player, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, having a zero in something, it sucks. It sucks to be like, this is the big moment of the campaign, and the GM says, "Okay, I need a tech use," and you look at your sheet and you go like, "I
Nope.
don't logic." Well, here goes the campaign.
Right.
you know,
So yeah.
but yeah, but again, if you're, as players, just know if you build your character, that's I mean we come back to it all the time in like GM library stuff, right? Like it's always going to come down to communication and expectation setting. but
Mhm.
I think allowing zeros is super valid. I say keep them. That's my two
All right,
cents.
keep the zeros.
Again,
Got it.
optional game modes. I'm always for optional game modes. I get it. There's a certain appeal for them, right? And it's like I'm trying to think. I mean, Pathfinder. I don't want to always keep bringing up Pathfinder, but it is a system that I'm like the most versed in,
Knowledgeable.
right?
Yeah.
Pathfinder has a ton of optional rules, right? You have the free archetypes, you have Ancestry Paragon, you have the dual class, right? All of those. I know one table, I've heard of one table that enabled all of them, and I could just imagine these characters are gods.
Nice.
Like,
All right.
oh yeah.
So as of right now, I have in my notes. Endurance is a little weird. Maybe try to
Mhm.
figure something out there. Um, influence is also slightly sticky, just not as much.
Yeah.
Um,
I like influence. I'm gonna say I think influence is fine.
okay.
If I had to compare if I had to compare influence to the other mental stats, I think there's a place for it. Honestly, I think endurance is the only one for me that's sticky,
Right.
but it does
Also,
bump up the number ranks.
if someone's listening and are curious about what I mean by I say sticky, I just mean that when you read it, you stop and go, "The fuck?" You get stuck.
Yeah,
Uh,
is that what sticky means?
that's what it does. That's what I meant in my brain when I said it. Yeah. uh, so I'm gonna leave endurance for now because let's look into the skills and kind of see
Yeah,
if maybe rearranging or redoing some of the skills or altering them in some way could help with endurance's issues. Uh,
real quick, actually, before we move on from the stats, I do think it's worth mentioning to folks just when it comes to the stats, these numbers are important. And like I'm joking around about taking zeros and stuff, but your stat array is what gives you access to archetype perks, right?
yeah,
So you want to if you this is that kind of game where you want to approach it concept first and build into your concept. So if you are thinking, I want to play a character that's mostly physical, but maybe can like use a keyboard or is like some sort of like hacker savant, then you're gonna want to hold a few stats back to put into logic because to get those abilities, you're gonna need the logic in the archetype stuff.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
skills
good,
are
good call out. Yeah, it-
I
something I
spent a
keep.
lot of I know it sounds like I don't because I just min max shit, but no, I do spend a lot of time thinking about the build and reworking it first.
No, that's valid. No, something I put into like the character creation section is like I walk through like the creation of the stats and everything first before picking out all the perks because like you have to.
Yeah.
But a big recommendation that I have at the very beginning, like of the book itself, is if you don't know what you want, like if this is your first time, look at the perks first, figure out which ones you think are cool, then come back and build your stats around that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably especially for newcomers to the game, right? Who haven't spent, months poring over the perk list. Yeah, do that. Go read through the perks first and then come back and do your stats.
Mhm. Uh, yeah. So okay, let's break down some of the skills and kind of figure out, if we have any stickiness here.
Okay.
um, so power, three abilities there, three skills. Athletics, which is just how big you jump, how big you throw ball, how big you lift a heavy thing, deadlift. It is. Are you an athlete? uh, push, which is literally pushing things. Uh, and it's like amount of meters per your power stat, uh, as well as it is the skill that's used when grappling because it says push, but the idea is you move something else around.
Let me
Uh,
just say that shit's busted. We'll come
yeah,
back and put.
yeah. No, I have seen some issues with it.
Yeah. I'm gonna bust this game with my next character. When I do my one build, my one stat character, He just starts pushing people miles away at a time. Like, what's your movement speed? Go over there.
Not anymore. Yeah, because you could. There's also like a bit like spells. There's spells and abilities, like perk abilities, and some archetype abilities. If you're like a werewolf or something, that you can boost your strength and then boost it again. Oh my god. Okay, I know this is a dev stream, but imagine this. You're an Oni, so you can double your strength for one like a few rounds. You use bear strength, which adds 3 to your strength. So do that first. Add 3, double it.
Ay, ay, ay.
And then if you already
Oh,
have like 8 or something in there, you could throw them at like 15 meters. Just whoop.
yeah, just out of here. And
That is
you don't even yeah. And that's the kind of what I like about this. I mean, this is the kind of shit where it's like you as a physical character can do stuff that will have the same effectiveness as something like magic,
Mhm.
right?
And like that is pretty dumb as far as like character concepts. Like what the fuck? But at the same time, I don't want to take that ability away because like you have to dedicate a spell to it. You have to dedicate an entire ancestry to it, and yeah, like you really have to build around that sort of stuff. And I think that's interesting.
My next character concept, one stat
Okay,
only, one
right?
skill only, and I'm gonna call him One Push Man.
Just push up.
Yep. Just push up, push him into the dirt.
Son of a. All right.
Okay, so push. All right, we know
So
push.
push.
Oh,
You get
my old
this.
friend. My old
Yes.
friend's next.
Block is your ability to defend yourself against incoming attacks with a shield or even your bare hands, depending on the situation. Block is not just a free one that you can do in any scenario. And this isn't like a hard set rule because it depends on the character. There are perks and other things, but generally speaking, you talk with your GM and they say, "Ah, can I block this? No, I shot you with a bullet. You don't have anything to block it with." But if it's like a sword and you have a really high block, and it's like, yeah, you can catch it, you know?
Yeah, you can do a catch thing.
Exactly. So like there is some amount of wiggle room that you have to discuss with your GM on that one. That one, there's no way to have a hard set rule on that, no matter what, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You want
At
to
least
see the block skill put to use? Go watch Mavet's Heart campaign.
indeed. Really use the heck out of that skill. All right, let's go to swiftness real quick because endurance
Yeah,
is the one that we're probably most likely to do anything with.
agreed.
Swiftness, the first one is gymnastics, because I feel like doing flips is always a cool skill to have in a game.
Oh yeah.
Plus, it adds to like the cat burglar archetype if you really want to get into something like that. And I think that
You even have
adds something.
yeah, you even have swinging off of vines. It adds to the George of the Jungle archetype.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Dodge.
that's the character, not George. Not George of the Jungle.
Dodge is the other skill in swiftness, which is it's dodge. You avoid damage by getting out of the way. Where block, you use your power to hold behind it. Dodge, you do the opposite. You get out of the way.
Yeah,
And then stealth is, as the name obviously implies, you are sneaky, quiet, and quick.
yeah.
Uh,
If you played a game, you know what stealth does.
exactly. Uh, and a lot of things are like bundled up in stealth, like stealing from someone.
Yeah,
You have to be sneaky about it. If you have anything you have to be sneaky for, you use stealth.
yeah, that just makes
Uh
sense. It's
yeah.
it's always been kind of silly to me that all those. I mean, I get it, right? But putting in as just one general stealth stat that raises things like your thievery or something too, that just makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like like I know exactly what you're gonna bring up. Like there is a sleight of hand skill in other games, as well as
Yeah.
a like how like good you are at hiding skill. Is like I feel like if I'm sneaky, I'm sneaky. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Can I just you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say I
Can I
definitely
use
wanted to try
power to pick
that.
this guy's pockets?
You definitely can. They're gonna notice, but you can.
It's called robbing them.
Um. So I already have an idea for a change that might make endurance more relevant.
Sure.
Um, but let's get to poise first. So poise is basically the opposite of push, where it is how able you are to keep your footing, how resistant you are to being pushed and moved around. In uh, in conflicts of grappling, it is push against poise. Is the way that ends up working out.
Can you, when we do one push man, can you make the villain like maxed out poise?
For you, David, I would love to. Yes.
Yes. We'll have the actual unstoppable object meets an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Exactly. Uh, and then stamina, which is being able to maintain like long, exhaustive, actions. So this will come up if like you know, uh, you're doing a campaign where for some reason you are uh having to outrun some sort of monster and something's chasing you need to keep your stamina up, or you're out at sea, or you're drowning, anything where you have to try not to die, you have to keep yourself together as much as you can. That's where stamina rolls come in. Anything you have to hold off against physical strain.
Yep.
Stamina also comes into play in resisting a lot of ailments and physical detriments. Um, so, one thing as we were talking, I was thinking about is block should probably be an endurance.
Yeah. I probably agree with you there. Yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
let's take you and put you over here. Let's bring you down one so you match everything else. Now, that begs the question, what I do with power? Do I need a third skill? Because right now I do not like the way this looks.
I would say, hear me out. Can poise and push become one?
Hmm.
Because poise is essentially resisting a push, right? How is that not essentially pushing back?
Right.
You just have a more poise. The one thing I will say about push compared to the rest of these texts is push is definitely the more mechanical,
True.
right? When you break these down into what they're doing, push is the one that reads more like an ability or a skill. I mean, well, they're all skills, right? But like, it reads more as like something that has a lot like specific rules around it,
Mhm.
whereas the rest of them feel more like information conceptual texts, right? It's like explaining what it is, right? But push, on the other hand, is more like this is what happens when you push, right?
Right.
So I do
Uh,
think push and poise coming together would be something I'd consider here.
okay. Um, I would consider that. Okay. Let's consider this. Push as a independent skill. Maybe we don't
Yeah.
actually need it to be an independent skill. It can be an action. It can be a
Okay.
major action. It has its
Yeah.
independent rule as a major action often does. Uh, and the skill that goes into it is something else.
Yeah.
Um, and poise itself, I mean, maybe we do, cut it and turn it into amalgamate it into something else, but it can be a strength. Why you do that?
Mm.
Application. I copied the other thing.
An application says no.
It's not letting me cut. Rude.
Let me cut. The other, I will say too, this while you're fighting with your app, um, part of me is a little sad to see block move out of power because I liked how block and dodge felt like
Opposites, yeah.
opposites of each other, right? Or like different options between the two types of physical flavoring.
Hmm.
They both have their own defensive option. Um, so because like when I look at this table, I mean the goal isn't necessarily synergy here, right? But I like athletics, gymnastics, right? Block, dodge,
Hmm.
stealth, and what's the opposite of stealth? Just powering through. Hey, there it is.
um, yeah.
It gives. I mean, the again, I agree with you about liking certain numbers of stuff, but I think there's also something to some symmetry there too when you're building.
Hmm.
You want to have, like, let's say you have a party where you have maybe two players want to play physical stat players. Well, that's fine. One of you can go a more power route, one of you can go a more swiftness route. You're both physical characters, but you're fundamentally unique, right? You each have your own thing that you're bringing to the table. One's bringing stealth, the other one's bringing Kool-Aid Man shit, right? Like,
Right. Uh, well, my copy and paste is broken, and I feel like I have to shut the actual application down if I want it to work. So I might have to just type them out and uh, make it look nice later. Uh, so I actually 100% agree with you, and I think that was originally part of like,
why
uh,
you had them like that?
yeah,
Yeah,
because block does make more sense as an endurance thing. Like you're resisting damage.
conceptually, yeah.
Uh, and I feel like the only reason I had it in power is because I liked the dichotomy of a strength and a power and a swift sort of character.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just want to mention too, Hannah brought up in chat here that poise does also carry within it that ability of like maintaining balance and stuff like that. I would say
mhm.
just take that and put it in gymnastics.
Okay.
I mean, you might want to, you know, um, yeah. I mean, the word poise. I mean, this might be a vernacular thing too, you know. But I just
Yeah.
think like when I think of mostly I just brought it up because poise and push did seem like the opposite of each other, and then they
Mhm.
would therefore, but they're opposites in still that like resistant sense, that
Mhm.
powerful sense, which is why I said that I'd probably put them together.
Right.
And I think push as a separate action makes a ton of sense. Um, yeah,
All right. So I'm gonna get rid of push. I know that I want that for sure. Um, wow, really destroying power.
yeah, nice.
All right. I'm just gonna make myself a note to make push a skill, action.
Athletic becomes something like a catch-all skill. Yeah, it does. But so does gymnastics. And
Yeah.
again, as long as both power and swiftness have their sort of catch-all skills, then it's fine. I think what we really need to do though is we need to find something that is the equivalent of stealth. And I think for power, it would be something like break or something, like instead of lockpicking the door, can I break the door?
Yeah.
Instead of sneaking through this crowd, can I just break this crowd up?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that would, that's what I would kind of look like. I think that's what it would look like. I think if we're gonna stick, and that's also part of why endurance does feel a little sticky, is that it doesn't really fall into that same dichotomy of power and swiftness.
Right.
Right? It's not exactly like a triangle either. It's not like, your Pokemon classic, water, grass, fire. This is more of like, I don't know.
I do like break
It's
though.
the middle child, yeah.
Literally. And this layout, which is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Uh okay. So
What's it? Okay,
break.
it's why it's the only strength-based stat in both Pathfinder and D&D. Athletics, yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. We're getting some chat on Discord too, so I'm watching two chats. But yeah.
um okay, so break, kind of the opposite of stealth. Uh it is your ability. What the hell? Need to
Your app
uh
is really resisting power tonight, I'll tell you what.
yeah, it's struggling tonight. It's a thing. No, I'll fix it later. Your ability to overcome
Physical
a
obstacles.
yeah.
And I think that's probably an important thing too. Like if you want to put the distinction as like a physical obstacle where because stealth is primarily going to be going around physical sensory, right? Like your ability to physically see something, um, or physically detect something. And then break would be, again, you just want to kind of provide
Mhm.
changing
Uh
stealth to sneak. You could, and that's the Skyrim way. Skyrim has stealth, and instead of stealth, it's called sneak.
yeah, and then it's more of a verb, sort of like break.
True. Good shout.
I like that. I think I will do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Sneak. All right. So you
What
have
are the
break, we have
Skyrim
sneak.
skills? I don't remember the rest of them. I want to take a look real quick.
Yeah. I mean, they might be a good one to like kind of not steal, but
No, but yeah, I can give you an idea of
inspire.
like the thing. Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
it's
block
ability
is
to
in there.
it's your ability to overcome a physical obstacle, uh, and something else. I feel like there should be more to break. Um,
To your ability to overcome physical obstacles, your ability to you maybe just kind of do descriptions like bust down a door, um, punch a hole through a wall, uh, open a can of pickles. Can I just break this can of pickles open? Also, pickles come in jars. Got you. Let me see here. So when I'm looking at whatchamacallem, Skyrim, there's archery, block, heavy armor, one-handed, smithing, and two-handed. Those are your combat skills in this combat skill tree. And then in the stealth skill tree, there's alchemy, light armor, lockpicking, pickpocket, sneak, and speech. Lockpicking and pickpocket being two separates, I do remember being kind of a bitch.
yeah,
But they put speech in stealth instead of it doesn't have like a influence stat, right? It's part of the stealth tree.
weird.
Yeah. I mean but that's the thing though, like you have to recognize that it is a thing. But at its core, what is it doing? Right? It's not physical, it's not combat, right? It's, you know, avoids
Yeah.
combat essentially.
True. Hmm. Interesting.
Let's, let's take a look at the mentals.
Yeah, let's
Or
do
do you
that.
have what you want to do on the
Uh,
physicals? The mentals
I,
is a
I'll
lot more.
Yeah, I'll come back to this on my own time, and I'll hit you up for ideas because I
Yeah.
do think there is space here for something, and I might just
Yeah.
move poise over and have
Yeah.
these, be their own thing.
But then it
But
would be yeah, blocking thing, yeah.
and just make poison to something that's more encompassing of both the push and poise previously.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. All right. But moving on to mental skills. Uh, with logic, we have tech use, which is how good you are at using any form of technology that is
Mm.
digital or otherwise, highly advanced mechanical thing.
Yeah.
Um, Investigation, which is how good you are at looking at whatever's going on in your environment and pinpointing something specific to get specific information from a glance through a room. Um, Medicine, first aid, medicine, healing.
Healing
It's
arts,
that
yeah.
one's not too crazy.
Yep.
Uh, Security, which is not super used in the games that I've done so far, honestly. And the idea was just it is your expertise specifically at locks and bypassing those things. And my mindset here was both physical locks, but also uh, like firewalls and hacking.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
my way to get hacking into a game because this is a modern setting. There is, digital
Yeah.
uh, safeguards,
Yeah.
and that could be part of tech use, but I felt like that would make tech use a little too broad, being able to kind of do anything. And I
I
wanted a
mean,
lot. I don't know.
I don't know, because I also do see it as, I mean, if we want to kind of do it, compare them to their physical counterparts, tech use would be your athletics and your gymnastics,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So I think, um, and security does start to feel a little bit like push did, where it feels more like an action, right? In terms of what it's accomplishing. It's the lock picking and like getting around defenses, but it's, we have it here because it's rooted in the flavor again of like firewalls and a digital interface and stuff. Given that is the core of it, you know, that's the center of the Tootsie Pop, I would probably put it in tech use.
that's fair. Um, I think both intuition and logic could both be reduced by one skill. Security for logic and for intuition, judging intent, which we'll get into in a second here.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
I think I'm going to make that change right now, honestly. Tech use represents your technological literacy and ability to figure out how to operate physical. Ooh, that was wrong. And digital devices. Uh, uh,
Good show.
uh,
Highly underrated.
from tools to uh, locks to uh, personal to PCs. Yeah, there we go. Security removed. Uh,
Remove
all
the security.
right. Moving over to intuition because I already know I want to change one there. So intuition, awareness is your general observational ability of everything around you. It is not like investigation because investigation is you're looking at a specific thing, you're trying to get very detailed information out of it. Awareness is just you're walking around and you're seeing the world. What do you notice, quickly?
Yep. I
Um,
like those two. Again, we got that dichotomy of like, awareness versus investigation.
mhm.
Mhm.
uh, Judge intent. Uh, the idea here was someone's talking to you, you're trying to understand what's going on, you're trying to get a real read of the situation. Reading the situation is awareness, and that could very easily uh, allow these two skills to kind of fuse.
Yeah, I would say just kind of. I also like the thing here about like body language and the nuance of that. So there is and expressions. So I also can see a little bit of bleed into influence here too, right? Like trying
Mm.
to approach an intent through the realm of our social skill. That's one of those things where you know I think I'm trying to think of like the common skill substitutions that we see in a lot of the TTRPGs that we play, right? I think the most common ones you'll see will often be someone saying like, "Oh, can I climb with an athletic skill or with a acrobatic skill?" Right? Even though the rule says it should be athletics, a lot of times a lot of GMs will make the substitution and say, "Yeah, you can climb with acrobatics." Um, Judge intent with influence feels like something, or even logic, too. Judge intent does feel like similar to some of the stuff, maybe more action than skill
Mhm.
in a way.
Yeah, I think Hannah mentioned that in the chat just now, where it's m- more action than anything else, and I think that's fair. I think I could definitely move judge intent into actions as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a lot of times too, like again, you can also do it sort of flavorful. Like let's say, maybe I want to use my maybe I want to judge intent through power. Maybe this is like an arm wrestling competition. And I feel like the guy across from me is like, you know, trying to set me up, so he's gonna throw the thing like in the match. If I can feel like he suddenly lets go, I would be you'd want to kind of be allow the player to have a judge intent there, right? But
Right.
it's fundamentally rooted in something like power, so it becomes an action instead of a skill based thing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. For some reason, I can't fucking. Uh,
I thought of that scenario out of like a real life experience. Underground arm wrestling.
underground arm wrestling.
It's kind of shit that YouTube bans. Rib wrestling.
Oh no, not rib wrestling. All
Did
right.
I ever tell you about rib wrestling?
I know of it. Oh. Okay. So reduced logic down to 3, and intuition down to 3. Now, influence. Oh,
Mhm. Oh, hang on. Let's do
I
driving
didn't go through the
block.
rest of intuition. What am I talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
driving block.
drive. Despite the fact that cars are technology, I felt like drive needed to be an intuition thing because I've never seen someone drive with like mental precision. It's almost
Yeah.
always you just go ooh, you just feel it. You feel the
Yeah. No,
road.
no one's there going, I'm moving 75 miles per hour. That turn is 90 degrees. If I approach at this angle. Yeah.
Yeah, if they do, that has to be like a perk or something, you know? like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
driving feels like a gut reaction.
Yeah. I also, too, another thing about drive is that it is unique to Terra, right? So I don't really want to fuck with it because you don't see, at least I haven't seen drive, even in like, I mean, Starfinder 2E is coming out soon, but I haven't seen anything quite like as drive.
Yeah. Which I felt like I needed to have something cuz in our regular life, driving is an actual skill that we must have, at least
I
in America.
spend We all spend hours sometimes just doing nothing
Mhm.
in our day but driving.
Yeah, and I put together a whole section of the rules that are all based around driving and cars and or vehicles at least. Um and I didn't want it to
They
get
played a plate. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't want it to get too complicated. It obviously is, but I wanted it to reduce the complication as much as possible by having as few skills related to it as possible.
Yeah.
And I wanted the complication to be fully in the setup, like where you are in the game at the time.
Yep. I've
Uh,
played 2 campaigns in Terra. Both campaigns, drive has been impactful.
uh, and then bluff, which is lying, which again
It is what it is.
is
Yeah.
purely based on the idea that like it's a gut thing. You feel a lie. You don't always just craft it, and you can
You
and
can.
whatever. But
And you can influence a lie too.
yeah, ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, that
mm,
one I was waiting to get to that one because I was thinking like, I don't know about bluff and intuition.
that's fair.
We could turn it into a skill.
uh,
I don't think we should though. I think we should find a way around it.
mm,
Um,
yeah, Hannah's saying that bluff is typically seen as a charisma thing in other games, and
yeah.
I see that. I guess yes, it's true, but hmm, I don't know.
I mean, if
I'm
you
trying.
think about symmetry, it would maybe look better where you have, 3 4 3.
Yeah, I just need a third thing for intuition.
Oh shit, we don't have a third thing for intuition yet. Yeah, it's true. Maybe mental fortitude. Maybe mental fortitude.
So we switch mental fortitude and bluff.
Yeah, I don't see. Let me read through mental fortitude. Okay, give me break down the mental fortitude. Let's hop over to into influence real quick. But I think we know everybody knows what bluff is. Everybody knows what lying is.
Yeah. So,
We'll circle back there. Let's go through the influence and then we'll see how things shake out.
exactly. So influence is, like we said before, is controlling a relationship situation. It's the emotional fights. It's mental fights. So with that, the skills are intimidation, which is you can scare others or compel them to be more compliant or useful to you in some way through fear, through that
Yeah,
sort of like taunting mentality.
yeah,
Negotiation being the opposite of that, but still with the same skill or the same ability. I mean, where you find the right words that ease them into whatever you want them to do.
yeah,
Um, and then mental fortitude is your ability to resist all of that. It is how resilient your own brain is, like how good you are at uh, resisting the like push and pull of the world around you.
hmm
Uh,
Oof. Mental skills are tricky.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
yeah.
so I do like the way Hannah worded it in the Discord earlier, which logic was your brain, influence was your heart, and intuition was your gut.
Yeah,
Uh,
good breakdown.
and in that, uh, I could see mental fortitude potentially being an intuition thing, and bluff being uh,
Influence.
an
Yeah.
influence. Because with any lie, you have to sell it.
hmm
It's a
hmm
performance. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
You're essentially influencing somebody.
yeah. Uh, okay. I was just checking in on Hannah's commentary. Uh,
What she say?
hybrid mental and physical stat. Uh, mental
It is
fortitude is endurance. I mean,
true. Yeah, I mean, we did float the idea of a hybrid thing that's not necessarily physical or mental,
mhm,
but
mhm,
mental fortitude definitely feels like it should remain in this paradigm.
yeah. Um. Okay. I'm gonna go with, at least for now. Uh.
True. And yeah, intimidation being a physical or a mental thing. Yeah, that's another one of those classic like swaps that you'd see people do. When GMs will allow is like, oh yeah, you can totally use your athletics or your strength for an intimidation check. Very
Mhm.
common swap.
Yeah. Which I think I will definitely implement that as like uh. Hmm. Okay. So just for now, I'm gonna move mental fortitude into intuition and bluff into uh
Influence.
and bluff into influence. Uh but and that this is essentially the end of, oh no, we have to go through combat skills. Fuck.
Yeah,
And
there's
lifestyle
still
skills.
a few
Fuck.
more. There's combat skills and
Ah.
lifestyle skills still, yeah.
Yeah. Uh so I'll move these over for now. Uh
If you want, we can come back to combat skills and lifestyle skills too, because they are kind of like non-traditional.
they
And
are.
lifestyle skills is especially broad.
Yes. Lifestyle skills is the one that I was like, oh, I'll keep this real broad so people can just kind of throw whatever. And every single time, somehow it's a thing everyone gets stuck on. It's like, I don't know. And I'm like,
Yeah,
it's one of the least restrictions. Anything you want.
but that's the problem, right? It's so many choices. Like, I'm looking at Jin's sheet where I didn't know Jin was a cartographer. I forgot that. I got cartographer, mechanic, and harmonica.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a wild setup.
Yeah,
Uh
but yeah, I think I would do yeah, because the combat skills. Yeah, because combat skills also get really hybridy, where we have like strength or agility, swiftness or intuition, logic or intuition. So they do get pretty hybridy. So I think maybe we should let's zero in a little bit more on these guys because combat skills are ultimately at least somewhat influenced by
multiples.
these core skills.
Yeah.
So I would say let's shake this out first, and then let's see what combat skills looks like. You know how it's going to look afterwards.
Mm. So
Lifestyle skills are good as they are. Right? I mean, I got lifestyle skills. I love the randomness of lifestyle skills, like your lifestyle skills, like you're saying, but I definitely know what you mean.
yeah. So right now I'm planning to just move mental fortitude over intuition, bluff into influence. Uh and then for the physical ones, I have a bit of a gap in power and I want to fill that eventually. But before doing any of that, I want to kind of talk about this idea of a hybrid, of there being mental skills, physical skills, and hybrid skills or hybrid
Yeah,
stats. Um, the hybrid would obviously be endurance and mental and influence, while logic, intuition are strictly mental, and then power and swiftness are strictly physical. That is the breakdown that makes the most sense, and which is great because it's already kind of set up that way.
yeah,
uh, uh, the only difference that would really cause is that we could maybe move skills around in an interesting way, potentially even turning endurance and influence into like a singular stat or something along those lines.
yeah. I'm still a little iffy on influence. I mean, I'm down to see what it looks like after. Like, I'm down to have you run with this idea, but I do think influence is one of those. It's such a staple. It's up there with like strength and swiftness. It endurance is the iffiest,
Mhm.
especially
So,
too with the skills that we have coming out of the influence stat: bluff, intimidate, you know, negotiate. Those all feel so solidly rooted.
mhm. um, true. So So I think looking through like what we want each stat and skill zone to represent, with power, we want it to be like literally movement. Like you are moving forward, you are acting, you are doing. So athletics makes sense. Break makes sense. Uh, Push still made sense, but it definitely works more as a uh, action than a skill.
Mhm.
Uh, I might throw in something akin to like grapple or something like that. You know, like I said, moving poise over to power and rewording that a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think poise in power makes sense.
Suggestion from Hannah: restrain.
Restraint. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
against having restrain. I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah. It's an interesting one for sure. I think too. Yeah. Well, no, keep going.
Okay. Um. Okay. But yeah, power. We want it to be, uh, you know, uh, a forceful, movement sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Endurance, I feel like, is almost innately defensive.
Hmm.
So stamina makes sense, trying to survive. Block makes sense, even though visually I would like it to be a power thing.
I think block is. I think block is the third power makes sense, especially if we keep dodge as swiftness.
Mhm.
I think
Uh,
block living in power just makes sense.
yeah. Uh, do.
Endurance, I get what you mean with like the ability to kind of like take the hit kind of thing,
Mm.
but
But that's mostly wrapped up into its
yeah,
effect on VP, on your
correct,
vitality.
correct. So then I would, and then I think block would then be the ability to prevent that damage from coming in by shielding, through the process of shielding, where you're that what that implies to me is that you are protecting yourself from the damage by intercepting the damage, right?
Right.
And that, yeah, I that's why I get the endurance. But I think having it rooted in the power stat is just cleaner because of the because primarily because of dodge. I think if we didn't have dodge, or if dodge existed somewhere else, like if dodge existed in a different category, then I could see it. But I feel like the game needs block and dodge to balance each other between power and swiftness, respectively.
I think right now, power and swift are the most sure things, the ones that make the most sense, and the ones that
Yeah.
visually and mechanically are the cleanest.
Yeah. Agreed.
Uh, I
Endurance
do,
is tricky because it's always been vague in like every game.
yeah. Like even thinking of like Constitution in D&D,
Yeah.
like what the fuck does Constitution do other than give you a bigger health
There's
pool?
it is the one that doesn't have a skill associated with it, right? That's it does the death saving throws and affects your HP, and then it has its own saving throw type as well. But that's because D&D, every ability has a saving throw type, right?
Mhm.
In Pathfinder, you have Constitution and yeah, pretty much the same thing, right? HP and saving throws, death saving throws.
Uh, with endurance right now, I'm happy with stamina because there are things that come up later in the rules regarding like
Yeah.
ailments that this plays a key part into, including like death saves and other stuff. Poise
You
makes
know what that feels
less.
like? Doesn't stamina feel like the mental fortitude of the physical stats?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Uh, I
Yeah.
think that was definitely intentional. uh, how to say it's like the difference between so in Doctor Stone, have you ever read or watched that?
Yeah, I have.
He comes out of the stoning because of his mental fortitude, not because of his stamina.
I thought there
Meanwhile,
was some guano and nitro
and that too, but
stuff
mostly the mental
too, but
fortitude, because he
sure.
keeps thinking, keeps counting, keeps his brain alive. Meanwhile, in One Piece, Odin is boiled alive in oil for an hour because of his stamina, not his mental fortitude. Boy
Yeah.
flexes his abs and says, "I'm ready." Those are two different, like, feats of
Two fundamentally different forms of
I'm a stick through it.
endurance.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, that might be the move, man. I mean, in take endurance and well, no, I mean your physical stats still needs some sort of third element, right? Although, does it? Like, could you just reduce it down to 5 and then have? I don't know. I'd have to think about what the character sheet would even look like.
I feel like the reason that I'm hesitant to do that specifically is because of the way that I have the derived stats, the VP
Yeah,
being that buffer, that would be entirely dependent then on something like influence, or I'd have to find another way to calculate it.
yeah,
Um, and that would make influence significantly more important.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's the
Um,
thing. You'd have to either find like a solid third physical stat line or remove a mental stat line.
yeah, I'm not against uh, taking mental fortitude. Uh, I'll put bluff into influence. I'll take mental fortitude. Oop, why do you do this to me? Uh, and put it in
Endurance.
endurance.
Yeah.
Uh, and then finding a third stat for intuition. I think I think I can we can figure out something that goes into here. You know, something that's a gut reaction. Um,
Timing.
timing and
Oh, there's your third intuition stand. Comedy.
comedy.
How to
How?
make the villains laugh. I mean, that could also be an influence. But no,
I
timing is potential. Like that would be but the thing would that would almost like be a counter to would be it could like go towards like an engagement bonus kind of thing,
yeah.
the way swiftness does. So like if you wanted to make a mental character that had a decent engagement bonus, you could still be adding intuition and swiftness the way we have it set up already. Um, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to call it about. You don't have to call it timing necessarily. It could just be, I don't know, sense of, just that would be the way to approach it. Like just your people's sense of timing, a sense of awareness, a sense of what are the other kind of senses people could have, and that's probably what I would just draw from.
Yeah.
Sense of
Uh,
empathy. That could be your intuition and intuition thing too, right there. Empathy, right?
but that's what we just took away with judge
With
intent.
judge intent, yeah.
And
But
with
that,
judge
that
intent.
we only took judge intent away to turn it into an action, right?
Mm.
Um,
And it could use the empathy stat or skill as the skill that rolls with the thing. Perfect.
it fits.
It's fucking clean, guys. It's cleaner every day.
Polish it,
Uh,
spit on it, polish it. I didn't mean
uh,
that sounds so dirty. Why does? Never mind.
all right. So mental fortitude is going into endurance. That stays the way that is. Now there's 3 in these. And then get rid of you. And now there's 3 in everything.
Sick. We did it, boys.
Oh,
Gather around, lads.
hells yeah.
We're making a game.
All right. I'll nail down the wording for empathy afterwards. It's already 10 o'clock, and I think this is what I thought was going to be one of the quicker sessions of doing this, ended up being one of the longer ones.
This is now we're getting into like real nitty gritty stuff too. I mean, we've been pretty nitty gritty the whole time, but we're feeling
but
extra gritty today.
You got extra gritty today. But yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna cut it, and we can pick up tomorrow next time with the combat skills and lifestyle skills, and maybe even the derived stats, since that'll be kind of recondensing some of that. Yeah. Yeah. I really definitely want to talk about these lifestyle skills because again, I threw it in as a fully like, oh, this would be a fun little thing, and it has somehow been so complicated that I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. Yeah, will. You know what? We'll talk about it next time. I'm gonna save my explanation on lifetime skills.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who has watched. I hope you enjoyed us kind of frazzled figuring out how to make this work and finding something that I think feels good.
Expanding our vocabulary.
Expanding our vocabulary and really just try to find a vibe, oddly enough. So thank you for joining us. Check back with us again in another 2 weeks as we do this one more time. I have been your developer, I guess. Yeah. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shh.